Faced with too high a wage bill, the Mia Mottley administration is about to send home what it says is no more than 1,500 employees. But what lessons can it learn about the process that must be followed from the last time the government of Barbados was involved in a mass retrenchment? Let's take the case of the National Conservation Commission. When, under the former Frundell-Stewart administration, over 120 people were sent home from that statutory corporation as part of a broader reduction in government's workforce. There was a 2014 decision of the Employment Rights Tribunal in a case that was brought by former NCC worker QT Lynch. It says that it was around the middle of 2013 that the government embarked on a major retrenchment exercise by reducing its staff by about 3,000 persons. Melanie James, who specializes in labor management issues, has been assessing the decision.
Under the last administration, they would have sent out a circular indicating to the departments that would be affected that they wanted the department, and for this case would be NCC, to do a retrenchment which would amount to more than 10% of their total staff, and that the system for doing so is, well, that should be considered is last in, first out. It still gave NCC some leverage and discretion in choosing who they wanted to select to retrench. Now, some of the staff made the allegation that outside of the last in, first out system, that some parts of geographical location would have been considered, and it wasn't fair or just in the way the selection process was done. And therefore, the case was brought before the Employment Rights Tribunal to review whether or not the redundancy was fair as a form of termination. And in doing so, they had to go through the process leading up to said termination of the employees.
According to Ms. James, there are 3 issues arising out of the NCC matter that ought to guide the Mottley administration's approach to this new set of retrenchments.
Ensuring that there is consultation with the employees and or their representative. And as we see it, the current government has initiated these conversations via the social partnership, first of all, to bring them abreast of what the current situation means. And in the decision, it says you must be able to identify the reasons for retrenchment. And these reasons must be ones that are justifiable. And the Act only gives 3 reasons for being able to retrench. That is, reduce or diminished ability to function as they usually do, or the company will be ceasing to operate, or the function for which a person is hired will be diminished or will cease in the future. Now, the government has made it abundantly clear that the position of the country, the economic position of the country, is one where we must be more efficient. So they have brought about the reasons. They have set clearly the reasons for redundancy and have initiated such consultation. The second important factor is you must be able to define specifically how you're going to go about selecting those persons that would be retrenched. And fairness is not determined by whether somebody else could have been fairly dismissed, but that the process was followed. Now, if you have determined that you're going to do a last in, first out, as the government has specified, that is not enough. You must specify specifically, even more so than just to say last in, first out. How do you tend to do this outside of the day of admission into service? Would there be other factors that may be considered? Because in the case of NCC, what they wanted to use was things such as conduct and performance, but there was no clear performance management system. So if the government is seeking to use performance management along with the last in, first out method, they must be sure that the departments for which will be affected actually have a very outlined and specific way of managing the performance and coaching the employees under their supervision. And finally, the case also spoke about ensuring that you have good files and documentation on each employee that you're willing to, well, generally all employees, but specifically for those that you wish to retrench. Now, in the case with NCC and QT Lynch, it was made apparent that the date for admission into service of some persons would have fluctuated. So they came in, and then there was a break, and they came in, and they came back again. So you must be sure that when you're doing last in, first out, you go based on the date that the contract would have indicated for the last admission into the service, but you must also give some consideration to the totality of the length of service with the government. And I would say those are the three major lessons learned. I mean, there are much more of which we can definitely discuss at a later date, but those are the three most important lessons that came out during that case with NCC.
Labor Management Specialist Melanie James on Sagicor's Early Business.